Welcome back to another spoiler-free anime review. Mashiro no Oto was a refreshing experience featuring themes of individuality versus conformity and self-expression through music. I also appreciated its accurate portrayal of introversion that I haven't seen since Threegatsu no Lion. The anime follows a shamisen player Setsu and his soul-searching journey to discover his unique sound. In episode 1, Setsu's mentor and grandfather, a shamisen master, dies, leaving him at an impasse in life. Because Setsu is considered the successor to his grandfather's technique, he feels the pressure to imitate his music. However, attempts at imitation unsettled his self-taught grandfather, who refused to pass down his magnum opus, a song he perfected over his entire lifetime. Instead, Setsu was told if he wanted to learn the song, he'd have to steal it and make it his own. Imitation alone just won't suffice. After departing his countryside home for Tokyo in hopes of finding his unique sound, he's met with an even greater pressure to conform than before, further complicating his goals. Setsu is reluctantly enrolled in a Tokyo school by his selectively overbearing mother. To make matters worse, Setsu feels obligated to join a shamisen club, relegating him to instructor by default as he's their most skilled member. Considering Setsu's introverted nature, all he wanted to do was sit quietly, auditing his tumultuous feelings to decide the path forward. Instead, unavoidable social situations add additional stress and test his patience. I found Setsu to be a relatable character, as he and I are on the same introverted wavelength. He was written realistically enough for me to understand his feelings without having to speak. I can totally relate to him sitting there quietly, being asked questions while trying to convert a complex stream of thought into a few sentences that are both concise and pleasant. Unfortunately, sometimes the sensation becomes overwhelming and he inadvertently says something rude as people demand instant responses. Additionally, Setsu walks the razor's edge between floating in a sea of self-doubt and obstinately fighting for his individuality at any cost. Instead of studying the technical aspects, his progression as a musician is solely tied with his self-realization and musical exploration. I appreciated the anime's complex take on music containing truths that echo throughout every aspect of life. However, it also appears to be symbolic of Japan's relationship with conformity, as it permeates their culture even into adulthood as people enter the workforce. In the anime, familial and cultural pressures encourage musicians to conform and play the classics instead of experiment. Mashiro no Oto has mixed views on imitation and conformity, as it's depicted as the precursor to self-expression for those born without artistic talent. However, it eventually becomes a hindrance to personal growth. This is revealed through contests favoring traditional sounds and through the inner turmoil of musicians attempting to suppress their creativity for the sake of acceptance. It also portrays rejection and disapproval as the cost of self-expression and individuality, which may be worth it under certain circumstances. After all, this song resulted from his grandfather's lifetime of self-expression and soul-searching. People love to attach rules, laws, and scores to things that by nature have no rulebook, such as art. It's like a scarcity mindset that clings to preserving the current order without having the faith in the trial and error methods that spawned the fundamentals in the first place. Much like Setsu's struggle to develop his style, the anime too struggles similarly. While it features a strong introduction, its melancholic overtone is quickly supplanted by textbook modern anime silliness. I found this ironic considering its themes of enduring rejection for the sake of your vision instead of conforming to the norms in exchange for acceptance. We go straight from Setsu deep in the throes of his existentialism over to his mom busting open the door with security guards, gassing him, and pouring hot wax over his face. Thankfully, this sort of thing is kept to a minimum, but in my opinion, it's always jarring unless it's a pure comedy anime. It's not that I'm bothered by comedy in serious stories, it's just that I don't find screaming or cartoon violence to be thematically appropriate compared to a more dry sense of humor. Now that Setsu's in school, he's introduced to a plethora of new faces, which I'm actually interested in getting to know because of how dynamic their relationship with Setsu is. My favorite was Seiryu, who has the makings of being Setsu's perfect rival who pushes him to evolve. These two have an intriguingly contrasting relationship of Setsu trying to master his grandfather's song, which was formed under a life of hardship as he lives comfortably off of the success of him and others in his family. Meanwhile, Seiryu actually grew up with similar difficulties as his grandfather, which ignites his drive, while Setsu and his brother simply write him off as a pampered city kid. I have high hopes for their rivalry as well as the future of this anime. However, as you can infer, the anime is incomplete. It appears that it began development within the same year as the manga's creation, so there wasn't a ton of content for them to adapt, which I think is evident by its poor pacing in its third quarter. However, now that over 27 volumes have been released, I look forward to its second season, though sadly, there's no announcement of it as of yet. Unfortunately, this isn't one of those anime that ends on a good stopping point either, as its final episode will leave you eager to begin the next. I think Mashiro no Oto is a simple yet enjoyable anime loaded with social commentary, not to mention the fantastic music. I felt the hair on my arms and neck stand at attention during these competitions and solos. Although the music is a prominent aspect of its narrative, it's easily accessible to everyone considering many of us face similar social obstacles to Setsu. I give Mashiro no Oto an 8 out of 10 for its messages, music, rivalry, and visuals. However, I thought the overall plot itself was rather weak and there were far too many characters, though I'll give it a break considering the entire season felt like an introduction to something much greater that I hope gets animated. If you'd like to see other anime about shamisen players, I recommend Nitabo, an anime based on the true story of a blind homeless kid who played the shamisen to survive. Ironically, Nitabo is mentioned in Mashiro no Oto. I also have a review of Nitabo if you're interested. It's probably one of my top 50 anime, so I hope you check it out. If you decide to watch either Mashiro no Oto or Nitabo, come back and share your thoughts. Thanks for watching, and have a great Christmas if you celebrate. See you next time.